Today I'm going to show you how to create these laser cut ornaments. I'm going to take you through a process where you first draw it on your iPad, export it as an SVG, and then use a Glowforge laser to cut it out of this Baltic birch material. Now, I'm going to be using Adobe Illustrator Mobile on my iPad, but you could use any free alternative like Inkscape or Gravit. It really comes down to three basic principles. You use a line or a path to cut or score into the material, like you see on these edges. Then you use a filled shape to engrave, and then you assign different colors to these shapes or lines to show different machine operations or give yourself that option. Let's dive in by opening up Adobe Illustrator. First, create a new document and title your document. Make sure your units are set to inches and make it a 4x4 document. Create your file. Now let's set up our grid. Turn on grid snapping and snap to grid. Then check the grid box and make your spacing 1 inch and all subdivisions 8. Now we're going to create a polygon or a triangle to start. Turn the fill to no fill and just use an outline of black. Use the touch shortcut to constrain it as you scale. If you slide your left finger down, it will actually constrain it to the center. Then I'm going to use this little shortcut to make the sides 6 sides, or you could open up properties and modify it here. Now I'm going to lock the constraints to my size and make the width 3 inches. I can increase the stroke by scrolling down on my properties panel and sliding this option up to 10 points. Now I'm going to move it to the center, but to make sure it is perfectly centered, use the align. You can also use the shortcut menu to change your stroke. I'm going to rotate my polygon 270 degrees. And now I'm going to temporarily lock it. Grab the line tool and drag a line from the top to the center of the polygon. I'm going to use the move tool to adjust and then increase the stroke to 10 points. If you can't drag it to 10 points, modify it in the properties panel. Then I'm going to change the end caps to be rounded. Select the rectangle tool and use the touch shortcut to constrain it as you drag from the top left to the bottom right. Make it about 0.5 inches. Then grab the direct selection tool and select the one corner. If you hit the X, you'll be removing the point. We're actually going to delete it so it's an open path. Go back to the selection tool and rotate it a perfect 90 degrees. If you hold the touch shortcut, it will allow you to rotate every 45 degrees. Then I'm going to use it to align to the center of my canvas and then move it up so it's roughly touching the outside of my polygon. You can see in my layers panel I have 3 different shapes. I'm going to select the 2 that are unlocked, grab the object tools, and create a stroke outline. This converts the path to a shape. Now I'm going to open the Pathfinder and combine all and select Convert to Path. This will merge these 2 original paths to be a new combined shape. Now I'm going to select the shape and come down and create a radial pattern. I'm going to change the size of this pattern to stick to my 3-inch diameter, and then I'm going to align it to the center of my canvas. With these shortcuts on the pattern tool, I can modify how many arms are actually patterned, and I can change how far away it's actually patterning around the center radius. I'm going to make sure it stays to that 3-inch. After these modifications, I'm going to select Object and expand the path, then select Ungroup. These are now individual shapes in your layers, and I'm going to go back and combine all and then convert to path. These are now one single shape in your layers. Now I'm going to unlock the original polygon, which is the hexagon, then select it in the layers, use the touch shortcut with a slight drag so it's constrained to the center, and drag it in to be the center of the shape. I'm now going to convert it from an outline to a fill, slightly adjust it, and now I'm going to select the group of arms and the polygon and use the Pathfinder tool to combine all and convert to path. As you can see in the layers, it is one solid shape. I still need a hole to make this an actual ornament, so I'm going to use a circle to create a hole for the top. Now you could create this in outline and adjust the stroke to be whatever you want, but since this is real world dimensions, I'm going to actually use the size of circles so I can dictate that it's going to be 1/8 of an inch perfectly. I don't actually know what size points are, so I'm not going to do it with a stroke. Instead, I'm going to convert it to a solid fill, going to go to the properties panel and make it the actual dimensions. I'm going to duplicate the circle, but first I'm going to change the color so you can see what I'm doing. With the duplicated circle, I'll change it to a blue and then modify its size so it's 1/8 of an inch or 0.125. As you can see, the blue circle inside the red, this will mean I have an 1/8 inch hole through a 1/4 inch circle. Now I'm going to use minus front this time, and you can see it is an open ring with actual dimensions that I can understand. Before I do this, I'm going to duplicate the blue circle so I can chop it out of the background snowflake shape. As you can see, when I hide the blue and red circle, it's chopped out a little bit of a semicircle from the black shape. Turn the blue and the red circle back on, and then go back through the original operation, minus front, and now I'm going to convert those to a path. With the red ring selected and the snowflake, I will now combine all, convert to path. Let me just change this back to black. And this is pretty much done. You have your first ornament. However, let's not stop there. Let's take this a level up. Drag a selection box over your entire design, select copy, then create a new layer, paste the copy into this new layer, and let's drag it off the canvas so we can protect our original design. And it's a good practice to keep your layers organized and title them. For the second iteration, I'm going to cut out this original snowflake from a slightly thicker snowflake. So I'm going to duplicate the original, then I'm going to convert it from a fill to an outline. And Illustrator Mobile doesn't have an offset path yet, so this is my workaround. I'm going to create an offset path by increasing this new stroke to about 12 points. Then I can convert this path to a stroke outline, and then convert it back to an outline again. So as you can see, it would cut this outer path, and then this inside shape could be engraved or actually cut out as well if you change the fill to an outline. Now I don't actually want it to cut out that center shape, so I'm going to select the path, ungroup it, and then with the direct selection tool, select that inner hexagon and delete it. That way I actually have some solid material in the center here where you could engrave some text or any other details you would like. My rule of thumb is I like to change my outer path to a different color so I can control the order of operations within the Glowforge app. If you haven't seen it yet, check out my other video, iPad and Laser, where I go over the basic laser design concepts, showing you how to set up cut, engrave, and scores using basic vector software. You can take this basic workflow by creating one of the arms of the snowflake, making it however unique you want, and then converting these paths to shapes, combining these, and then creating the radial pattern, however many you'd like, and expanding that pattern so it's a shape. Then again, combine all of those pattern shapes once you've ungrouped those. I'm going to select this shape, convert it to an outline, and then change it to red for a cut path. With the direct selection tool, I'm going to select the inside star and select the trash can, that way it removes this from being cut. Instead, I'm going to use the text tool, select once, and I'm going to create a text design inside this space instead of it being cut out. You can scale the text inside this drop-down menu, or you can drag the bounding box, and you can also change the size in the properties panel. Inside the properties panel, you have different font options, and there's an extended list at the very bottom when you select other fonts. I'm going to take my time and use some tracking and kerning and design this to say Happy Holidays 2021 within this star shape. I plan on this being engraved, so there's a couple important steps that you have to take with text. Select all of your text layers, and we're going to be converting these to a shape with this outline text tool. Change the text color to a blue, because that way the machine will know to engrave it, and then with the direct selection tool you can now actually select each of these letters and modify them to customize them however you'd like, because they are now shapes. I'm now going to select all of the words and use the combine all tool. However, if you've ever noticed they're all grayed out, use the first selection arrow and then you'll have the option to combine all and then convert to path. The last thing I'm going to do is put a small round over on each of the corners. With the direct selection arrow, I'm going to select just the tips of these points, go into the properties panel, and add a small radius. If you want to challenge yourself, you can create a hand drawing that will be cut out or engraved with the laser cutter. The pencil tool is great for hand drawing vector shapes, especially since it has the option to increase the smoothing ability at the bottom left. Use the combination of these organic shapes with your geometric tools to create your ornament. Just remember to merge your overlapping shapes to create one entity. That way when you reverse to an outline to cut it, it will just be one solid cut path. I'm going to modify this script font so that way it extends to the borders and has some overlapping moments. That way I can cut out this very ornate ornament. From here I'm going to choose my favorite ornament to send to the laser cutter. So I'm going to select it in the layers panel and drag it up onto my canvas and center it. Hide the other designs and then expand your layer to make sure that there's no geometry that's going to get in the way. So this original polygon that is locked, I'm going to go ahead and just unlock it and delete it. Then I'm just going to expand these two layers and make sure they're ready to go. Select the share button, select export as, and then I'm just going to title this with my name, and it's important that you choose the SVG format for the Glowforge app. Then select export and save to your files. Load the material into the laser cutter. I'm going to be using 1/8 inch Baltic birch. Now mine's not perfectly flat, so I'm going to clip it down to the crumb tray. Test to see if every area is perfectly flat. If not, add more clamps. Close the laser, and now we can upload our file into the Glowforge app. Go to app.glowforge.com, and then use your username to sign in. Select Create, Upload from File, and then locate your SVG file that you've saved. I'm going to be using unknown material, so I'm going to select this button and type in 0.12 inches. Position your artwork, select Print, and then wait till your file cuts out. And here it is. Since I didn't use any masking, you can see some of the burn or the residue from the laser. I've already gone ahead and cut out all 4 of these designs, from slightly easy to intermediate to more advanced. With this design, you actually get 2 ornaments for the price of 1. Now, before cutting it out, I would recommend putting a little hole for the wire to go through at the top. You could drill this after. Now, as you are cutting out very intricate parts, you can see that the text was just too thin here, and as soon as I picked it up, it started to break. So I could have offset it, or I could reverse this back to a filled shape and engrave this. Just make sure you have different colors set in your file before you upload the SVG. Now you might like this burn look, but for me, the next step is to sand this off. So with a flat piece of sandpaper, I can simply just sand this residue off the ornament. If you intend on using a power sander like an orbital sander, I recommend keeping the scrap material that the ornament was cut out of. That way it supports the delicate arms as you sand it. There it is. You try to sand anything this delicate, just so you know, it's probably not going to work and it's going to break as soon as you start. So simply mask your material before you put it in the laser cutter and you can cut right through that, but then you just have to peel off all those small pieces. For this last step, make sure you're in a well-ventilated area and hit it with some polyurethane or your favorite finish. And the only thing left to do is to hang it up with your decorations and enjoy the holidays.